So, since the last time I filmed, I got what was probably my largest ever yarn delivery. And that caused a whole rethinking of the space in the house and how to deal with yarn sprawl. So, we're going to talk about all of that. So, let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I'm a knitter and a crocheter. I am also a cyclist with AIDS Lifecycle, which is an annual 545-mile, 7-day bicycle ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, raising money for the life-saving work of the Los Angeles LGBT Center and the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. As part of my fundraising for my AIDS life cycle, I've started the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. We're in season 2 of that, and also the Destash for Good fiber auction, which runs on Instagram. You can find me at GaryKnitsAndRides at Instagram, and also at Destash for Good, which is where the auction happens. And you can find me on Ravelry at GaryKnitsAndRides. So, happy holidays, everyone. Hope you are cozy and warm wherever you are. It is what we call winter here in Southern California, which means we haven't broken 60 degrees in 2 weeks. It's been getting down into the 40s at night, which is pretty chilly for us. And the houses around here are not necessarily built for anything other than 70-degree weather. So we're bundling up a little bit around the house in the evenings in particular. But it's been beautiful. We actually got some rain, which has been much needed, and we're just gearing up for the end of the year. Got a lot to talk about this week. I mentioned this giant yarn delivery that I got. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I've gotten some more stuff as well for the upcoming End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs Winter 23 edition, which are going to kick off January 1st. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and things are going to get a little mixed up this time just because of the different things I'm talking about and where new yarn has come into the picture. In terms of the last couple of weeks, the biggest news, really, or biggest thing that's gone on around here is we've finally gotten from under the spell of COVID in the house. As you know from the last video, I had it for 4 or 5 days right around Thanksgiving, and then my husband caught it, and he had a longer bout of it. Nothing serious, never really had much in terms of symptoms, but just kept testing positive for about 14 days. And so that is finally behind us, thankfully, and that means we're going to be able to enjoy Christmas dinner, at least with our parents. So we had to cancel Thanksgiving, and we're going to enjoy Christmas at my folks. My dad's having a knee replacement surgery right before Christmas, so he's not going to be able to get over here. So we're going to them and eat at their place. So it should be a great day. We don't do a lot for the Christmas holidays. Mainly, it's just a big dinner. We do little gifts, but nothing major, and we haven't decorated for 15 years. So it's not the most festive house on the block, but we still have a nice time, and I hope you're having a nice time wherever you are. So that's been it for the last couple weeks in terms of things going on around here, because we were pretty well hunkered down for the bulk of the past few weeks. I did want to do a little admin up front and talk about the upcoming Knitalong and Crochetalong. Hopefully, you've been able to go back and watch the videos I did with all of the designers and dyers who are participating in the winter 23 edition of the Knitalong Crochetalong. If not, they're posted here on Instagram, so you can go find them and meet all those amazing people. Let's just go through each of the events or each of the buckets individually. So on the Knitalong side, we have both yarn and a design from Maggie of Yarnaceous Fibers. The shawl is a fingering weight shawl. It's called the Reconstructed Shawl. I'll post a picture of it up here. And that pattern is going to go on sale January 1st, so on cast on day. But the kits for that shawl, which require 2 skeins of a main color and fingering weight, and then she has it set up with 6 20-gram minis. You could also replace those 6 20-gram minis if you wanted to do a 2-color version of it with just another skein in a contrasting color of fingering weight yarn. So the way she has her kit set up and designed, the 2 main color skeins are what she's calling a grayish, and then the minis are in a sort of faded, muted rainbow. And I think she's calling it like Rorosaurus or something. So there's 6 of those in the 2 skeins of the grayish. But obviously, and this goes for any of my Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, stash diving is welcome. Dig into your stash and see what you've got. Obviously, from the fundraising perspective, pattern sales and kit sales go to help my fundraising, but I'm happy for people just to get the pattern and dive into their stash if that is what works best for you. So with the kit, you get all of the yarn from Maggie at Yarnaceous Fibers. There is a link below directly to the kit on her website. There's going to be a link to every single thing I talk about today in the show notes. So don't worry about having to jot everything down. But included in the kit is all of the yarn, and then you're also going to get a code for the pattern when that releases on January 1st. So I think she put up a handful of kits available ready to ship. I think as of a couple of days ago, there were only 2 or 3 of those left. And then she's opening it up as a pre-order, which will ship to you before the cast on date on January 1st, as long as you get your order in by, I think she said, sometime around the middle of the month or the 18th, 20th, somewhere in there. So please go check that out. So that's the Knitalong side. On the Crochetalong side, we have the It's Better shawl from Austin's Crochet podcast. Austin designed this 3-color DK weight shawl for crochet. It has some color block intarsia in the crochet, as well as sort of a mesh border. There's some tassel detailing at the end, and he's partnered up with Louisiana Yarn Guys for his yarn kits, and he put them together into 2 colors. I actually have my kits came in, and so I can show you those now in the 2 colorways. One's sort of a spring palette, one's sort of an autumn palette. The spring palette, let me show you first. So that pattern from Austin is available now on Ravelry. It's called the It's Better shawl. Again, links down below. And it is $8, and $3 of the price is a donation to AIDS Lifecycle that gets done automatically, so you don't have to do that. Same thing with Maggie's pattern. If you buy the pattern separately, it's $8, and $3 of that goes to my AIDS Lifecycle fundraising. So here is the spring palette. So let's see, lighting is always a challenge, but it is the main, I don't say the main color, but it's sort of centered around this variegated, which is called Paris in Bloom. And you can see it is sort of pale pink and then has some yellows in it, some speckles of purple and green and blue, which then tie in to the 2 contrasting colors, or at least how I'm thinking about it in terms of contrasting colors. So this yellow is called Tiger Yellow. I think it may have something to do with one of the universities in Louisiana. Maybe is it Louisiana State that are tigers? Anyway, so this is Tiger Yellow. Ties back into some of the yellow there in the yarn, and this blue, which is called Tardis blue, which is really picks up a lot of those. This is pretty true to the color. It's sort of a purpley blue. I don't know, do we call that periwinkle? But picks up a lot of those speckles in the Paris and Bloom variegated color. So that is the spring palette from Louisiana Yarn Guys. The yarns are all available now on the website. They're not put up on the website in a kit, so you'll need to go through and individually pick out the colors. Again, it's DK weight. This is on their Highland DK base. They have another DK base that has stellina in it, and I can't remember what it's called. Treme, maybe. So if you wanted to be extra, you could do this in the sparkle base. But this is the spring palette: Paris in Bloom, Tiger Yellow, Tardis Blue. And so you pick out the skeins individually. All of their yarn right now is 20% off through the end of the year. So you could actually choose your own adventure with their yarn and make your own kit. These are just the two that Austin has put together. On the more autumnal side of things, these are the three colors, and really, really pretty. This gray blue is called Paris in Autumn, and it is, yeah, I would say blue-gray is probably a good, and it's pretty true on the, at least what I can see on the camera. You can see in there is specks of orange. There's some really pale, it's gonna be hard to see, but there's some really pale, I would say kind of grassy greens. There you go. But the predominant speckles in here are this orange, which tie perfectly into with this burnt orange. So you can, I mean, you can see it right there. That's it really picks up those speckles. So that's the color is burnt orange, Paris in Autumn, and then the third color is this Lissa blue, which is showing up better here than I think it did on the live with the guys. It is definitely a teal. It is a green blue. You can definitely see some variation in there with the greens. It's a really, really rich, beautiful color. So Paris in Autumn, burnt orange, Lissa blue. Again, all this will be linked down below. I'm doing a terrible job with getting their logo front and center. But you can go on their website and pull these skeins individually to make this autumnal kit. So I forgot to mention when I was talking about Maggie's kit. So we had a lot of fun during the announcement week, and we ran giveaways for each of the events, and we had a giveaway for a kit for Maggie's reconstructed shawl, and the winner of that was here on YouTube was Helene Weinberg. So Helene, you're going to get a kit from Maggie. It is on its way to me. I will get it to you, and then you'll have access to the pattern when it becomes available on the 1st. We gave away one of the kits for Austin's shawl pattern. So the winner of the kit was Walsh Central on Instagram, and she chose the spring color palette. So she's going to get this set, which then means I am going to be using the autumnal pattern for my shawl. Playing around with it. I like all of the colors, but as much as I love this blue, this Lissa blue, I may play around with something from Stash, as you will hear me talk about in a little bit. We now have a 1 in, 1 out policy in terms of yarn coming into the house, which means I would need to choose from my stash rather than try to find a color to buy. But I'm toying around with it. That's something that maybe we'll talk about on the next iteration of the podcast. And we have the sock knit-along that we're going to be doing at the same time. We did one last year. It was a huge success, and so we're doing it again for January this year. Already huge response, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So Joanne from Snowy Thistle Knits has come up with 2 sock patterns. Well, it's one pattern, but in 2 different weights of yarn. So the Resolutions sock, which is the worsted weight version, and then the Resolutions Light, which is the fingering weight version. And Laura from Always Be Kind Yarn, who you may remember from the last sock knit along, has put together a palette of 4 different colors in each of the weights of yarn that she's dyeing up. So there is the New Beginnings blue, Resolutions red, Fresh Start green, and I Can caramel. And so all of those are available on each of the weights. And she has those up on her website right now, linked down below. The patterns, both of them are also available on Ravelry right now. I think if you buy both of them, the second one is half off. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. And Laura had a handful of the sock kits available for ready to ship. I think most of that has already been purchased, but they're open now for pre-order. And as long as you get them in, again, by mid-month or the 20th or so, they should get you in time to cast on the 1st with everyone. But don't panic if they're not there. There's no race, no prize for finishing first, and it runs for 2 months, so you've got plenty of time. I should note on the worsted weight socks, it takes about 120 grams, I think, depending on your foot size, Joanne said. So if you want to make sure that you have enough for full socks in whatever color you're doing, you should probably have 2 skeins. If you wanted to do contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs for that extra little bit, then you could probably get by with 1 skein of the main color and use stash or scraps or whatever for the contrasting colors. You can get the full pair out of a single skein of the fingering weight yarn. So that is the sock knit-along. And we did a giveaway for the sock knit-along as well. We did what we called the Pay It Forward giveaway, where folks put in the Instagram comments what color and weight of sock that they would like to work on, and then in a DM nominated someone to me that they would like to gift a kit to someone who they thought might enjoy making the socks, who might not be able to buy the yarn or the pattern right now, or for whatever reason, or anyone else they wanted to nominate. We had so much fun with it. Laura, if you saw the video that I did with Laura and Joanne, she said she wanted to be part of the giveaway. And because we got such a great response with just really wonderful stories of people on who they wanted to nominate, we decided to do 2. So we did 2 sets for the winners, and then 2 sets for their nominee. And the first winner was Lissa of 4U, 4_U on Instagram. Lissa I think this year, just opened her own yarn store called 4U in Oberlin, Ohio, and she's created this amazing sort of inclusive community space for that community. She has some great yarn, so go check out her website if you are in need of any yarn. I've bought several things from her. Her shipping is really fast. She has great customer service, and she's a delight. So go check out the 4U website. So Lissa and her nominee are getting a kit to make the resolution socks. And then Yvonne Broikers, who has been a longtime supporter of the AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, she won the second set for her and her nominees. So those are all in process. Lissa, Laura's getting me the yarn, and I'll get that distributed out to everyone. Plenty of time for cast on. So thank you to everyone who watched the videos with me and the designers and dyers, and who participated in those give-alongs. I love doing giveaways. I love doing giveaways, and it always just brings me so much joy to send this beautiful yarn out to folks who are participating in these events. So that is the Knitalong and Crochetalong. Again, it starts January 1st, runs through February 28th. We will have 5 rounds at least of giveaways throughout the event, starting with the cast on giveaway that very first week. Probably in the next episode, I'll go through and show a little bit about what some of the giveaways are going to be for this round. We've got some great stuff, some of which I've already shown, but I'll show it again. And then we'll have our Ravelry group where folks can post pictures, obviously tag everything in Instagram. That's your entry into the giveaways. And then every Tuesday evening, Valerie of Creations by Valerie hosts a Zoom call for participants in the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, although quite frankly, everyone is welcome. and it runs from about 7 o'clock Eastern for 90 minutes or so. And I'm usually on. I usually have to jump off to get dinner going after about an hour and a half. But it's a fun group, very chilled, laid back, just showing off what we're working on and chit-chatting about knitting and other things. So hopefully you can join us for one of those. At some point during the actual event. We'll try to do one of those on a Saturday as well, just for folks who can't join us during the week. So I think that's it on the Knitalong Crochetalong side of things. On the Destash auction, we are gearing up for our next one. It will happen. We will open it up for submissions probably around the 14th of January. Those will stay open for a week or so. And then my plan is to run the auction starting on the 1st of February for about 10 days. That seemed to work out last time as a pretty good run. That way I'll be able to get the auction closed a couple weeks ahead of the end of the Knitalong and Crochetalong. So if you're getting yarn for the holidays and gifts, or took advantage of Black Friday sales and need to clear out some space in your yarn closet, yarn bin, now's a good time to start picking things out that you might want to list in the Destash auction. And you can always go to the Destash for Good Instagram account to link to the FAQ, which is also linked down below for all the rules and how it all works. So those are the things that are coming up. AIDS Lifecycle fundraising side of things, and I guess we could probably get into some knitting. Some making, not even just knitting. I have 2 FOs and a whip. One of the FOs I am wearing right now. This is my It's Winter Somewhere cowl, which was the Knitalong project, or half of the Knitalong project. The other half is the hat. For the season kickoff of the End Days Knitalongs Crochetalong. So this is the one that just ended up 1st of November. I knew I wasn't going to finish the cowl in time just because I was working on all kinds of other things, but I did get the hat done. And I just finished up the cowl today. Take it off. It is going to go as a surprise to a friend of mine in New York who mentioned to me last time I was there that she liked orange. And I think that it will serve her better than it would me here in California because it's much cooler up there. So this is the pattern by Fatima Hines, aka Disturbing the Fleece, the Queen of Cables, who has her cable masterclass up on KnitStars right now. I did 1 fewer repeats than how the pattern is written. It calls for 5 repeats. I thought 4 was more manageable in terms of around your neck. I think if I was doing a shorter cowl, I maybe have done a taller one. But I did the full 12 round repeats, but only did 5. Apologize for my dog who's acting up in the background. I only did 4. And I think honestly, if I were making it for myself for around here, I would probably only do 3. But I think since it's going to a colder climate, that the 4 will work out well. I think it turned out great. The yarn is Twisted Ambitions yarn. Ross did the kits for this project. This is his Sedona colorway on his Wicked DK base. He just came out with a bunch of gorgeous new colors. That, of course, every time he launches a new collection, I want to buy it all, and I now know that I can't do that anymore. But I love how it turned out. Fatima is a huge proponent of doing cables in any yarn, variegated, tonals, whatever, and I was a bit of a doubter, but I think it turned out great. I love how it looks in this color. And the folks who did it in the pink color, the flamingo colorway, that one was really fantastic as well. So this is FO done. The hat's a little big. If anyone has any ideas, it's superwash yarn. I blocked it and it blocked out a little big for me, and I'm afraid it's going to be a little big on the recipient. Does anyone know if you put this in the dryer, does it shrink at all? I don't think it'll felt. but I just don't know if there's a way to make it just like a teeny tiny bit smaller. Not going to sweat it one way or the other, but just for my own edification, if you have any experience putting superwash wool in the dryer, if that does anything to it, or it is a big do not recommend, drop something in the comments down below. I'm sure I could Google it as well, but if anyone has any advice on hats that kind of get stretched out and how to shrink them back down a little bit, I'm all ears. So the other FO I did show this a few weeks ago because I was getting close, but I finally finished it and all the ends are woven in. This is my Ellie Rue shawl by Shelby Shays Stitches. It is in Porter Wool Co.'s Rainbow Dust kit. I think Rainbow Road is the main color that I use here, which is the white with sprinkles. Looks like cupcakes with sprinkles. It was a set that was done for the my Pride Knitalong last year, or Crochetalong, sorry, Pride Crochetalong. And she did one of the kits. Rainbow Peaks Yarns did the other kit, which was a blue base with a more traditional rainbow color. And I love how this turned out. Not at all my normal colors, but it was so much fun to do. This is by far the most ambitious crochet project I've ever done. Lots of fun new stitches for me and techniques, and it's gigantic, very cozy, and I think that if we get some cool summer nights, it will be a great summer throw to throw on. I think I'm going to block it out. It's very long this way, up and down, and I think if I block it out a little bit this way, the proportions of it will make more sense to me, even if as I'm just holding it, seems to be making sense to stretch it out that way, which is just going to make it bigger lengthwise or across, but I think that's okay. I probably could have done one fewer rounds on this and made a perfectly fine size shawl. I'm sorry, I'm going to adjust this down a little bit. But I don't mind a giant shawl. So very happy with this. Again, the pattern is called Ellie Roo, R-O-O, and Shelby, it's very funny. Shelby was on vacation this week, and she was working on another one for herself, and she was using the same kit, which I think she had gotten at the time that we launched the Crochetalong last year, and life got in the way and she didn't get to work on it then, so she finished up on vacation. Go check out her page. Is Shelby_Shays_stitches on Instagram. I'll link her below. Same colors, same set, looks completely different just because of the way that she spaced hers out. If you've been following me for a while, you know that because I wanted to do every 2 rows of one color, 2 rows of the main color, 2 rows of one of the minis, I ran out, unsurprisingly, of the main color and had to order some more yarn from Caitlin at Porter Wool Co., which is one of the reasons why this got delayed a little bit. But go check out Shelby's, because it's amazing how the exact same pattern and the exact same kit could come out completely different just because of the way that we chose to space the colors. So those are my 2 FOs. I have 1 whip, and because I've now finished, I have 1 whip to show. I have the monster garter stitch blanket, which continues, but I can't bring it in here because it's gigantic, and that's going to get done when it gets done. There's no rush on either that or this other whip, which is my Exploration Station Stephen West shawl. Let me see how I can do this. So it is a top-down shawl. I'm absolutely loving this this pattern. I've been trying to complete every 2 weeks, complete one of the sections. So last time, you'll remember, I had finished up the brioche section and had moved into what he calls sassy stripes, which is like a slip stitch rib striped stripe bit. I was using the purple variegated and then the white and gray variegated. So the detail of the stripes gets a little bit lost, although I actually like how it looks, because I'm liking how the variegation of that white to gray just kind of blends through it. But I think if you did it in two solid colors, you would get that more clear kind of textured stripe that he was looking for. I've moved on, finished to the second to last section, which is called Nothing But Knit, and it is nothing but knit, but it's a very interesting technique which I've never done before. Oh God, I can't. Where you starting with the blue, you knit across, and then like brioche, you don't turn it over and work the wrong side. You go back and start the second color and re-knit the right side. And so you get these, and then you do the same thing on the wrong side. It's just knitting all the way around, but because of the way, because you're not flipping it over every single time, you get these sort of unique garter ridges where anyway, just the way the colors, okay, it's not focus on it, but the way the colors work out is different than what you would expect from a two color garter stripe because of the way that you're working the yarn. So it's a super easy section. You're just knitting back and forth. You just have to remember not to flip your work at the end of every row and work the right side twice and then the wrong side twice. And then the last section is going to be some of these chevron things. So this, hopefully, we will be there the next time I film, and this will be wrapped up pretty much by the beginning of the year. Doesn't have to get to where it's going until February, so I'll have plenty of time to weave in these ends and block it, and then that's going to free me up to work on the Knitalong and Crochetalong, my reconstructed shawl, and the It's Better shawl. So this is all yarn I got at my local yarn store. The gray and the purple variegated are Ba yarns, Sonoma, I believe. They're sock yarn. The gray is called Pebble, which you're now only seeing really in the in-between spots where they have the eyelet row. It's going to be the color of the final section is Pebble. The purple is called Rose Bouquet. The blue is also Ba yarns, but it's their singles. I think it's called New York, and it's called Blue Topaz. And then the white and gray is Purple Lamb or Purple Sheep. It'll be in the show notes below. Yarn company, and it's called It's Complicated. But I'm really liking how it looked, and it's a really, really fun shawl. I believe this was a mystery knit-along several years ago, and I like that it's a manageable size. It's not going to be one of these gigantic schlankets, so it's giving me a good sense of accomplishment in getting that wrapped up in a relatively short period of time, and it's a lot of fun to work on. Nothing super complicated in there. So that kind of frees me up. I finished two things, that and the monster blanket, which just is a work going on. It'll get finished up before Martin Luther King for sure, because I'm making good progress on it. So before the Knitalong and the Crochetalong kick off, I think I have time to crank out a hat for myself. I haven't made anything for myself in a while, probably since, well, the Ellie Rue shawl, I guess, is for me, but I haven't made a hat for myself, and I love knitting hats. So living in my new Scrappy Angel box bag, I am going to cast on, I'm going to wind up the yarn this weekend, I think. And I think I'm going to do this for the Yarniacs podcast Self-Indulgent Knit-Along, which runs from the 21st, because that's the solstice. And then I think it runs through the equinox in the spring. So mine will be done long before that, because I'm hoping to get this done before the Knitalong Crochetalong starts. But I think I'm going to do it as that. The self-indulgent piece is this is a pattern that has been in my queue for like 2.5 years. It's the Kentia hat by Amba O'Brien, who is sort of the queen of Advent mini skein projects. This is not one of those, although I guess you could do it. But the Kentia hat is a mosaic knitting colorwork hat. that I'll post a picture of it up here probably. And I'm going to use this Cascades Heritage Wave in this gray colorway, which I don't know if it has a number or a name. Yes, it's number 515. I love a 515. That's going to be the main color, and then the color work color is going to be a Yarnaceous Fibers. This is her Frankensaurus on her Salta fingering, which is her 8515 merino nylon, but just this really fun pinks to greens to grays, and so I just think that'll be a fun color floating through the background. And I'm excited to try the technique. I don't know how different or what the difference is between mosaic knitting and just a slip stitch colorwork pattern, but I guess I'm about to find out. But I think it's a great looking cat, and I think it'll be a fun one to knit up, and hopefully I'll be able to get that banged out in between Christmas and New Year's, and have it on my head when the Knitalong and Crochetalong starts. So that's the Kentia hat by Amba O'Brien. And that's it for crafting in my world. We can talk a little bit about yarn acquisitions. So I didn't do this up front and sort of what's been going on in the last 2 weeks. I mentioned I had the biggest yarn delivery that I think I've ever had. Now, the Monster Marled yarn blanket, which I'm doing in Wool of the Andes from Knit Picks, that was a big box, but those are relatively inexpensive skeins of yarn. But in terms of like dollar amounts, this was by far, I think, the biggest one. It was my Stranger Things yarn from Lauren at Treehouse Knits. You all know I'm a huge fan. Her Cocoa collection is legendary. This Stranger Things, I had already gotten my minis, and the colors are absolutely fantastic. Most of this yarn does not technically count as stash because it has already been assigned to projects, and in my rubric, if it is assigned to a project and put in a Ziploc bag with the project name, that is no longer stash. That is just a project in the wings. So most of this, I really didn't buy much that's just going into stash to be held on to. The minis are, but that's about it. So all these things, most of it was going to something, and I included in there was a sweater's quantity of a color I'll show you. I didn't bring the whole sweater's quantity in here because it's all the same color of yarn, which may or may not become my hopeful Rhinebeck sweater for next year. That's definitely on my list to do in the New Year's, is to get a sweater on the needles to hopefully wear to Rhinebeck next year. But I'm going to walk you through all this, and if you did not get any of Lauren's yarn in the first or second round of this, I'm sorry, because it's really, really a great collection. So the first set is Most Metal Ever, and I got it on the tweed sock base. It's just so good. And this is going to be the one that gets worked up first. These other ones, they're going into the queue. Who knows when they're going to be done, but this is going to become a Sunwalker shawl by Melanie Berg for me. I wear a ton of navy. I do not have a navy or shawl that even has any navy. Well, I guess my Sweet Shadow Wrap has some navy, but so many other colors. But this is going to be all navy with this tweed yarn. I think it's going to be fantastic. So this is Most Metal Ever. I don't know if I have this in just one of the regular bases on the tweed base. So that's going to be Sunwalker by Melanie Berg. Sorry for the crinkling because I didn't pull all these out of their individual bags. So the next one, and I'm really excited about this because it's a pattern I've been wanting to do since I've seen it. And that is a Stephen West Slip Stravaganza, which was, I think, 3 mystery Knitalongs ago. And again, trying to do it all in blues, with few little accent colors. So the main color that you need 2 skeins in is Dream a Little Dream, very dark navy. This one is called, I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer, which is very, very pale with some turquoise and some speckles. And then this purpley blue is called Always the Babysitter. Then the 4th color is this amber. So these are going to be the main colors for the Slipstravaganza, with the dark blue being the one that you use the most of. I also got 2 skeins of Surrey alpaca. One is in the Dream a Little Dream, and then this one is in the Most Metal Ever. So they're just sort of, one's a little bit paler blue that I'm throwing into the mix. I don't know where I'll use them in the pattern, but I'm hoping to do a little mohair dare, as Stephen West likes to say. So that is my Slipstravaganza kit. Then a very heavy on the Stephen West. Sorry for the rattling. These are the colors I picked for my Vertices Unite. I feel like every male knitter podcaster out there made one of these last year, or the year somewhere in the pandemic. I did not, but they all look fantastic, and I just think these purples and pinks and the gray are going to be a really, really fun thing to mix with. So Bat-Free Layer is this really dark plummy eggplanty kind of color, which pairs beautifully with Stranger Strings, which then has some red in it. The pale gray is called Destined for Another Dimension. And then 2 in the pinks, the more tonal solid is the Chosen One, and then the speckles with a little variation, but with some dark, very dark purple speckles, almost kind of Bat-Free Layer speckles in it, is called it's called TikTok. I'm sorry, Chosen One and TikTok. So those are going to be my Vertices Unite. Love it. And then finally, I only have part of this because I am digging into scraps. So this is going to become another Stephen West. This also, I believe, was an early mystery Knitalong, Speckle and Pop. So it's going to be these 3 colors and then 5 pops of color, contrasting color that I'm just going to pull from scraps. So I did these all in the greens from the collection. So the solid green is, I swear we've seen this tree before. And then the variegated green with that same kind of base is Hive Mind, but it also pulls in some of these silvers, a little more blue in there. And then the very pale tonal is called Motherland. So those are going to be the 3 primary colors for my Speckle and Pop, and then I'm going to pull in a bunch of different contrasting colors from scraps. I think I need essentially 5 minis. So we'll see. I don't know what'll work, what won't, but that's going to be down the road. So I said that was the biggest, and then there's a sweater quantity of the Dream a Little Dream in sport weight, which is going to be some sort of a colorwork sweater. Again, apologies for my idiot dog barking in the background. The delivery of that and just other deliveries that have come over time sort of created this yarn sprawl and led me to reorganize and rethink. I ended up getting a bunch of extra bins to start to put things that hadn't been put into bins. And then it had me rethink this whole room where I film, which is our den/guest room. This sofa pulls out, and that's an extra guest bed if we need it. And most of the yarn that I have is kept in here in the closet in bins. And this room was always just sort of a hodgepodge of things that we brought from Brooklyn that didn't kind of fit anywhere else. There were some bookcases, but they were kind of higgledy-piggledy around the room. And so we tried to find some corner bookcases that could go on either side of this couch. Found some really cool ones that very interesting design. They could be 3 bookcases across, or you could make them into an L, and you could have the short side either, on either side, so they were all reversible. And I thought they would be perfect. And we ordered them, and they came, and we assembled one of them. And while we were assembling it, something didn't seem right to me. Like where I thought the short side was going to be was not as short as I thought. And we got it put up, and we kind of moved the couch into place. And I had misread the schematic or mismeasured or something, and we were about 1.5 inches off on either side, and the second one was not going to fit into the corner. So in addition to just feeling like a moron, we then had to figure out what we wanted to do. Luckily, we have brand new neighbors moving across the street from us, and we called them up because we couldn't ship them back because they'd already been opened, and because it was my mistake. We were gonna have to pay for the shipping. Given that they were gigantic bookcases, that was gonna cost more than they probably cost in the first place. And so we reached out to the new neighbors who are moving in, upsizing. They're moving into a bigger house than we're there, and they have two kids, and said, we have these bookcases that we thought were going to fit that don't. Any way you could possibly use them in your house. And so they did. We found a smaller set of bookcases that we now have measured 55 times, and they're going to fit. And I'm hopeful. They're not here yet. They were supposed to be here yesterday, but Christmas holiday delays. They're not going to get here for another week. But I'm hoping that by the next time I film, they are up, and they will give me a way to kind of rotate maybe a little bit the way I film, and have some yarn to show, show in the background. In addition, instead of just having my one of my shawls back here each week. So that's kind of how the yarn sprawl ultimately turned into a whole reorganization of all of my yarn. But it has gotten to the point now where, as I mentioned before, I'm kind of on a 1 in, 1 out system in terms of new yarn. That big treehouse yarn delivery was basically like my holiday gift, and is going to fill up the coffers quite a bit in terms of like additional projects to work on down the road. So I'm still going to have yarn coming in for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. But I'm going to try to start making a little bit more of use of my stash, which we may do with both the reconstructed shawl and the It's Better shawl. I think maybe next episode we'll look into some color options. I'll still have a few days before cast on, and maybe some people can give me some feedback. You may see a little bit of that on Instagram as well. That was basically all of, that was all. It was a gigantic shipment of yarn. All of the acquisitions that came in didn't have any heart mail, which are donations for giveaways, although I think there are some coming in the next couple weeks, so we should see some of that. And I didn't get any booty stash enhancements or things that I've purchased for giveaways, because I did a lot of that at Stitches KAL, so there was no additional purchases for giveaways other than things I've already shown. I had a couple extra. I bought a couple extra of the Two Sheeps yarn calendars, which are going to be giveaways for this round of the Knitalong Crochetalong. So I think that's it in terms of the acquisition side of things. So why don't we get into Craftivism a little bit? I have a few things. Some are really craft related. One is less so, but it just is something that I thought was a really great way to give back. So the first one, which is definitely Craftivism. This is from Abortion Access Front, or Abortion AF, I think it is on Instagram. It'll be linked below. They are an organization of activists that help independent abortion clinics navigate the new landscape and continue to operate in whatever capacity they are able, depending on where they are. They also train other activists through their Operation Save Abortion program and do some training around exposing these fake abortion clinics, which are, trick people to come in and then try to, convince them to not go ahead with their abortions. But anyway, Abortion Access Front is doing a fundraiser. For a $10 donation, you will get a copy of Romy Hill's Autonomy KAL pattern. I'll put a picture here. She's had that out for a while and has used it in a couple of different reproductive health fundraisers. It's designed in the green color that's kind of become known as the sort of color for reproductive health protests around the world. And so she's designed this little kerchief cowl that she's shown wearing in green. So for a $10 donation to Abortion Access Front, you will get a copy of Romy Hill's pattern. And so the link to that will be down below, in addition to the link to their website, so you can see all the different programs they have going on. They have a podcast that they do every week that sort of goes through all of the different changes that are going on around the country in terms of access to reproductive health services, and some of the ways that they're pushing back on that in different places. So check out Abortion Access Front, and if you're able to and want to grab that pattern, you can do it with the $10 donation to them. The other one, which is very, very local, not to me, but to the Albany, New York area, but it just came across my Instagram feed, and so I thought I would highlight it as well. It's the Instagram account is called Albany Food Not Bombs, and it is they are collecting warm clothing items, hand knit hats and gloves and scarves, anything to help keep folks warm in the cold upstate New York winters. And there's a link down below on where you can donate. They can all be donated to the Albany Social Justice Center. And if you follow that link, you'll find out the address. I'm not sure if they can take things by mail or if it's just folks who may be in the capital region of New York to drop those off in person. But it's that time of the year, and we can definitely help folks who are suffering in the cold with some warm weather gear. Again, sort of like Knit the Rainbow, which is one of my favorites. This last group, not the last group, but the second one, the next one is a group called MTN Youth. It is the youth programming from a group called Maine Transnet. They came across my Instagram feed because they run a queer youth craft club, and at one point earlier this fall or summer, they were looking for supplies, and I said, I reached out to them and said, how can I, help do that? They said they had found a local, I don't know if it was a yarn store or what, but someone who was supplying them with all the craft supplies that they needed for their queer youth craft club. But down the road, they were going to have another program, and that might be something that I could help out with. I said, absolutely. So they're putting together trans youth care packages. They would like to have all of these things to them or shipped to them by the first week of January, and then they're going to put these care packages together and deliver them to the youth that they serve by the end of January. So they have a wish list. The link is going to be down below. It has all kinds of things on it, snacks and books and school supplies and things like that they are packaging up and then delivering to the trans and gender nonconforming youth that they serve there in Maine. So they want to get those in by first week of January so that they can put them all together and get them distributed by the end of the month. So that is MTN Youth is the Instagram, and it's the youth programming from Maine Transnet, who serves trans and gender nonconforming folks in Maine. And the last one, which is not really craft related, but I've seen them over for the past couple of years, and I think it's a great program. It's called Trans Santa. It was started in 2020 by 3 trans activists who are very well known, and it focuses on trans youth who may be unhoused or in foster care, or for any other reason, may not have the support systems that they need in place. And it allows them to put together and anonymously match up with donors. They put together Amazon typically gift wish lists, and then people are able to buy things from those wish lists, and they're delivered directly to them. So the link below will bring up a bunch of posts from the trans youth who have put together their list. There's also a link to a spreadsheet for requests that the Trans Santa, the group, has decided haven't gotten enough love or attention, or sort of fallen through the cracks. They're sort of the boosted requests. So you just go through and you can see the listings and see what people are, these young people are asking for to help, with all sorts of, there is a wide range of things from, things that are fun to things that are, daily necessities that they need. And it's just a great way to spread a little joy at this, at the holiday season to young people who, many of them, you'll see the stories if you click through, either have been thrown out of their homes or have, run away from home and have ended up somewhere else, and are, having a tough go of things. So it's called Trans Santa. It has its own Instagram account, and that'll be linked below as well. So those were just some ideas. It's it's that time of year where there are many opportunities to give back in the community, and these are just some of the ones that have come across my feed in the last couple of weeks that I thought were great ideas to try to help out. So if you can, help out, and I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your very busy holiday schedule to spend some time with me, to see what I'm working on, to hear about the work that I'm doing fundraising for AIDS Lifecycle, and to hear about some of these other Craftivism opportunities. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate. If you don't celebrate anything, just have a wonderful year end, and hope that you will join me again next week, or in 2 weeks. It'll be right before the new year. We'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to be doing for the Knitalong and the Crochetalong, and who knows else what will happen in the next couple weeks to talk about. So thanks for spending some time with me. I hope you'll subscribe and like this video. It really helps out, and have a great couple weeks. Thanks.